step. IGP, we heard earlier that he was heading towards your area. Does it mean that he hasn't landed yet? You don't have any information on whether or not he's arrived, and there are any preliminary comments?
Not at all, Beatrice. I continue to stay in touch with my sources within the security agencies, particularly the police and that of the military, and now I've extended that to the immigration service. But none of my sources within the state security agencies have been able to tell me whether the IGP has arrived in the region, or more specifically, the Bawku enclave. But we get visible things that show that the man is on his way. For instance, we see armored police vehicles moving on High Street in Bolgatanga and the Tamale Walwali Highway, which indicates that it's probably one of his some of his advanced vehicles, from the advanced team moving towards the region. And so we have every belief that he is on his way. But as to whether he has landed and is in Bawku is something my sources haven't said. But I keep my fingers crossed, and after when I get that, I will definitely come through. Also, if he had landed, we would have heard of him because, like I stated, the Kusok Traditional Authority or the Kusok area, and its people have held the pressure where they've raised issues. And so I'm sure he would have gone there if he's around and would have tried as much as possible to see how best he can down tensions, especially at this very critical moment.
I guess you're going to give us details of this press conference, but ahead of that, as if what happened yesterday wasn't enough, this afternoon we heard as well that the house of the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central had also been torched. What information do you have on that?
But for the timely intervention of the military and the police, the house, and let me say the private residence of the Bawku MP would have been, raised down to ashes by now, as we speak. But we understand that yes, the youth attacked, the house and set it ablaze. But luckily, like has always been the operation procedures of the military and the police, they keep going over and over the areas where they suspect, attacks would happen. And so it happened that the military team and police team were moving towards that area and so quickly saw what was happening and rushed there. And we understand that they were able to douse the fire from causing damage, first of all, and then later on, they were able to repel these attackers who we understand were armed to the teeth, and we understand they held them on for close to 30 minutes until they gave up and left. And as we speak now, we have information that a lot more security arrangement has been made for the residents of the Bawku MP. Beatrice, let me also paint the picture that aside from the Bawku MP, we also understand that the Pusika MP has a private residence in Bawku, and that also came under the attack of this suspected arsonist who also set fire on to that private residence of Hajia Ladi. But just as the police and military did for the Bawku MP, they also rushed there and were able to also bring that under control. But if you compare the extent of damage between the two main houses, it's safe to say that that of Hajia was a bit touched as compared to that of...
You have just 1 minute remaining.
We'll have to get back to Castro because there's still more for him to tell us regarding what's going on in Bawku in the Upper East region. But if you're watching us on Facebook, we are actually showing you videos of that vicinity, which has the house of the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central and current Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga. We're showing you videos of what transpired. A number of military officers they're trying to deal with the problem or salvage the situation. And so we'll return to Castro and bring you more on that. But let's get a quick thought from Dr. Victor Doka. He's a security analyst. Doc, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition.
You're welcome.
We spoke about this how many days ago, and already we're seeing things just getting worse and worse. Fortunately, we've heard that the IGP is on his way there. What would you expect, first of all?
Well, thank you very much. It's unfortunate these incidents are still happening. The IGP is on his way because he needs to speak to the police personnel there to boost morale and to ensure them that what has happened is unfortunate, but then he needs to, speak to his men to calm down and then adhere to the mandate for which they are there. Aside that, I would expect that there should be or there will be some sort of capacity building for these men to know and respect the traditional norms and practices in any given traditional area, so they wouldn't take upon themselves initiatives or activities that would warrant an attack or aggressive behaviors from any faction. And when you're talking about a conflict, that has prolonged, and then sides taking entrenched positions such as the Bawku conflict, any situation, any event, if not handled well, can be misinterpreted. And hereby the actions of the police were learned of what they did means that the youth from one side didn't trust them. They breached that confidence. They breached that respect that they had for the police. Going against the traditional authorities was directive. They had to retaliate. It's unfortunate this thing has happened to the extent that the barracks have been burnt down, and then we have another life lost. So I think going there, the IGP should ensure that he calms his men down, he boosts the morale of the men for them not to be demoralized, because it is important for them to still play out their role in enforcing curfew hours and ensuring peace and security.
I mean, that's understandable that you think that perhaps the reason we saw what we did see yesterday is because there is that broken trust between the police and the community. And we had the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central even issuing a statement yesterday condemning what he believed the police had done. Yet the next day we see his house burnt.
Yes. So the issue is now, if one section, you're talking about the police's action of escorting the Mampusi women to the market, which resulted in attacks from the Kusasi, then you are sure that a section of the Mampusis would also want to retaliate. And in this case, they wanted to go after the said MP's house. Okay? I mean, sources are not very accurate as of now, but then you are talking about Bawku. So if any side is being attacked, you definitely have a retaliatory consequences. The other side would definitely want to retaliate. And in this case, it means everybody is at risk, even the said MP, because then they wanted to destroy his property. So it means we need to, as quickly as possible, come up with a roadmap with regards to addressing this conflict.
Let's not forget that prior to this attack, they had already warned the MPs that they shouldn't step foot there.
Come again?
I'm just saying that even prior to the attack today, there had already been warnings against him and other MPs not to step foot there.
Exactly. So the youths in the region, in the area, are agitated. 1. 2, their issues are not being resolved. Their interests, their needs are not being addressed, and it's taking too long. Hence, they feel the aggressive aspect, and then aggression will lead to violence, and that's what we are seeing now. They are frustrated. So, as much as possible, we should come out quickly. Not just the curfews. The curfews are just one means of stopping the clashes. Even with the curfews, we still hear cacophonous shootings. So, as much as possible, stakeholders need to meet and then come up with a roadmap. We need to assess the king, come up with a roadmap for all stakeholders to implement for this conflict to be addressed. Other than that, I'm sorry to say, this is what we are going to have. It's going to be cyclical.
Aside from the stakeholders, which presumably would be people who are leading in terms of the factions, I believe, the young people who may be going out to carry these violent attacks could be listening. What would you tell them in order to ensure that there's cooperation from every corner?
I would entreat all the youths. I have friends there from both sides. I would entreat all of them to calm down, respect the norms, the rules, ensure there is peace. Whatever the consequences is, the stakeholders are going to address the issue. And if any side does not agree, you have the opportunity to what? Go back and then issue out your, desires. But the use of weapons to express your concerns and destruction of property, state property for that matter, and then attack on personnel who want to protect life and property is not the way to go. Because the state is very powerful. We should desist from any act that would lead to further disruption of the fragile peace in the area.
Well, ended here. Thank you very much, Dr. Victor Doke. He is a security analyst. Thank you so much for speaking to us. And I was telling you earlier that the Inspector General of Police was already leading a delegation to the Upper East region, precisely Bawku, to try and ensure cool heads prevail. Let me bring you a statement that was issued earlier today by the police administration, and it says the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Christian Teteyonu, today, 10th April 2025, leads a team comprising operations, investigation and intelligence officers to Bawku in the Upper East region to attain first-hand knowledge and assess the security situation on the ground. The Ghana Police Service, working with the Ghana Armed Forces yesterday, 9th April 2025, restored calm at Bawku following violence involving some youth of the town and police. It says one person, Fuseni Idrisu, unfortunately lost his life during the incident. 5 other persons, including 1 police officer and 1 immigration officer, sustained gunshot injuries and are on admission receiving medical attention. Some properties belonging to the police, including 2 vehicles and a rented police accommodation at Binduri, as well as houses of some of the police officers, were damaged. Security has since been intensified at Bawku and surrounding communities as joint police and military patrols continue. While at Bawku, the IGP and his team will also commiserate with the deceased family, visit the injured persons on admission and reach out to officers who lost their properties as a result of the violence. We would like to assure the public that the Ghana Police Service will continue to work with the Ghana Armed Forces, chiefs, opinion leaders and all other stakeholders to ensure security, law and order at Bawku. So that's a statement coming in. It came in actually a bit earlier from the Ghana Police Service on the IGP's trip to Bawku. Let's go to back to Castro Senyala, who was giving us an update earlier. Castro, wanted you to finish on your thoughts and then wrap up the conversation.
Right, Beatrice. So the other issue is that the coastal traditional area and its people have made calls that they want the government to find lasting solutions to the conflict. They are asking for an independent investigation into the conflict and also make sure that the rival chief in the town is taken out of the town. They've also said that they don't want to see their MPs in the area, and also they would not welcome any government delegation to the area until a lasting solution is found to the conflict. They said all this at a press conference held this evening.
Quite interesting. Castro, briefly, are you able to tell us? I mean, yesterday we heard the MP for Bawku Central, Mahama Yarga, condemning the police for what had happened. And just less than 24 hours, we see his house burned. Have you had any information as regards why and those involved, even preliminary investigations?
I'm not getting your question clear, Beatrice.
I was asking, yes, I was asking that yesterday we had the MP condemning the police, MP for Bawku Central, condemning the police for what had happened. And the next day we see that his house has been burnt. I'm just asking whether you had any information as regards who might be behind it and really any other further information on the attack on the MP's house.
Yes, Beatrice. So what is happening appears to be that the people of Bawku aren't happy with their MP, Mahama Yarga, they feel that he and his government have not done really much as far as any of the conflict is concerned. Beatrice, you would recollect that or recall that solving the Bawku conflict was one of the biggest promises made to the people of that area. And so, having come into office almost a few months and the way things are going, the people feel that the government and by extension their MPs aren't doing so much. And so, yesterday, when all of this happened, the MP issued a statement to sort of distance himself from all of that was happening. But it appears it didn't go down well with the people, and for that matter, they poured out their anger on his private residence, which we saw today. And it appears the angry youth have been trying to raise down his house for a long time, but they have not always had a chance until today when they had the glimmers of chances and quickly moved in. But the police and the military were quick enough to intervene, and that brought the issue under control.
Castro, thank you so much for that update from Bawku in the Upper East region. And we'll be bringing you more on this developing story of the escalating violence in Bawku in the Upper East region. But ahead of that, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, has called on the Minister of Education, Haruna Iddrisu, to come clear on his recent directive for heads of senior high schools to enforce discipline in their respective institutions. The minister, at a stakeholders forum in Sunyani on Wednesday, said that school authorities have the full backing of the ministry and government to implement any necessary measures to protect students and teachers. His comments follows the recent shooting incident at the Seventh-day Adventist Senior High School in Kumasi and other incidents of students in discipline.
Ours is that we should strengthen the relationship between the schools and its management, and in particular parents, in order that you remain at the forefront of the moral, intellectual, and academic development of our wards. It is only a harmonious and cordial relationship that can deliver same. When I heard about the shooting incident in Kumasi, my immediate response was, this is un-Ghanaian. This is not Ghanaian. But it has happened in Ghana. The Director General of GES have issued some directives and instructions. He has our full policy support and approval to enforce those directives. So in respect of the un-Ghanaian development of shooting in Kumasi, the Director General of the GES has the full support of government for you to strengthen your inspections in order that guns, knives, and other violent tools and equipment are not found in our schools. You have the full support of government to initiate those inspections at the weekend. We have to nip it in the bud as early as possible and as practically as possible, in order that we allow for a serene studying environment. This cannot be part of the training of a Ghanaian child. That is immoral, that is violent, that is not Ghanaian culture. So we expect that you will look at those issues.
And you heard the Education Minister, Haruna Iddrisu. Well, the acting GES director also gave his backing to this call.
The current upsurge in school violence, including gun culture and other acts of indiscipline, calls for the urgent need for our service to look into our current practices, that is, review, reflect, and make the necessary changes, that is, reset, to move our education system forward. In this context, Mr. Chairman, one question that should inform our thinking as Honorable Minister engages us in the dialogue today should be, how do we develop and promote character index excellence in the students who pass through our schools as we deal with the challenges associated with the free SHS? Finding answer to this question will help us to prepare the 21st century graduate with the requisite knowledge, skills, attitudes, and value that Ghana needs for its socio-economic transformation agenda.
And he had the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Ernest Kofi David. And we're joined on the line now by the General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Musa Tanko. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening to yourself and to all your listeners.
Mr. Musa Tanko, so we're getting the information from your group that you want the minister to come clear on this latest directive, that they have the backing, you teachers have the backing of his ministry and the government to ensure there's discipline in our schools. What exactly, in terms of clarity, do you want?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we have to commend the minister, at least for the statement that he has made regarding the issue of discipline in our schools, because the current happenings is very, very dangerous. And I have said that if care is not taken, we will even have to deploy the police and the military in our schools just to protect, to ensure that lives and properties are protected in our schools. But to the substantive issue, like I have said, we want to commend the minister for his support to the heads of the institutions to ensure that discipline is maintained. But you see, currently we have what we call the Code of Conduct for staff. And the provisions in that particular code will not allow teachers to do what he is saying as trying to be corrected. And that is why we are saying that he should come clear on it. If it is the case that we need to review the code, then fine. Let us all come together to review it so that what he is saying could, it will reflect in the provisions of the code. Aside that one, let us also remember Article 23 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which requires a public officer to comply with the provisions or the law that is governing the work that a public officer is doing. So to the extent that the heads of institutions are public officers and they are to operate under the rules of engagement, we have difficulty. Aside that one, I think what the minister said is in place. So let us all come together and let us see how best this, what he has said, could reflect in the code, and then we take it out from there. That is all that we are saying.
So when you say that the current code of conduct does not or will not permit head teachers to do what the minister is asking for, how exactly do you mean?
You see, there is what we call the physical violence in the code of conduct for teachers. Let me put it this way. See, in every organization, you have three things. You have the condition of service, code of professional conduct, and then the scheme of service. These three documents. And the code of conduct determines how you should conduct yourself at the workplace, how you should deal with your customers and all that. And if you look at where the provisions on the physical violence is really elaborate. It's really elaborate. And some of the wordings that are even ambiguous. And so to the extent that are ambiguous, we have had our heads, several teachers being disciplined by the GES itself in the past. And aside that one, we have had teachers beating, some have lost their eyes. Even recently, there was a case in Ashanti region where a teacher has lost his left eye. We are even now pursuing it and all that. And so because of those provisions in the code of conduct, we have told our teachers to stay away, go and teach. Any other, don't go and engage any student or anything, because if you in the course of that, you may even fall foul to the law. That is where we are. And that is what we are saying that currently the minister, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, is now shifting from the status quo and giving his backing that discipline should be maintained in the schools. And we are saying that it is a right call, and since he is the one in charge of policy at the Ministry of Education, then together we should see how best what the things that he has said or the policy directive he has given, some kind of guidelines could be put in place in the code.
And so I've seen the code of conduct you're talking about, the physical violence and the explanations there, even emotional torture and all of that. But when the minister talks about discipline, you're saying that let me first find out, how did you understand when he said discipline? Because discipline doesn't mean physical violence, emotional, sister, like we see spelled out in the code.
My sister, let me tell you something. When we go to court today, it is not what you are. It is not what you are defining. The document you are holding now, that is what will be. That is what will be used at the court of competent jurisdiction. Okay, the document you are holding, it is not what you are defining on the station now. It is the document that you are holding. That is what is going to be used in the court of competent jurisdiction. That is why when a police officer is coming to arrest you, he will tell you have the right to be silent, or whatever you say or do could be held against you in the law or in the competent court of jurisdiction. So, to the extent that that is the document that will be used to judge you at the law court, you are always mindful of that particular provisions, on the provisions in the document, and that is all that we are saying. Then let us see our best. Look, Article 23 of the Constitution of Ghana provides that a public officer must comply with the provisions of the law that he is expected to work with, and he must also act fairly. So if that particular, if Article 23 is saying now you must comply with the provisions of the law in the area of your work, then you have a code that has even been giving you elaborate rules of engagement, and the minister has also made a statement. All that we are saying is that if we need to review that particular section, let us review it. Because the minister has the right to get that particular code reviewed. And then we all get it done and we take it out from there.
So
because that is the document that will be stand on, or the judges will use when anything happens.
Let me read a bit of that to you from 3.9, where it talks about non-discrimination. 3.9 says no employee shall discriminate against a pupil, student on the grounds of sex, race, age, religion. Then it goes to right to social activity. No staff shall detain a pupil or student.
No, and physical violence.
Yes, we've seen that, but we know that there's no more corporal punishment, and that's why I asked you.
It goes beyond corporal punishment. Read it. Look, the physical violence has about almost 3 pages.
Yes, but that's why
about 3 pages.
That's why I asked you the question.
So, you see, the wording there is do not inflict any physical harm, and the physical harm includes things like asking the child to kneel down, asking the child to go out during instructional hours, frog jump, leap jump. And many other illustrations have been given in that particular book you are holding. So if care is not taken and you go and do anything, you can easily fall foul to the provisions of the code that you are holding. That is why I'm saying that we've gotten to a stage where we need to take all the words that have been used in that particular physical violence. Let us take them one by one. Let us analyze them. If the minister wish that, look, we need to review some of them, so be it. Even in the criminal code, the issue of discipline is acknowledged.
So that when we talk about discipline, you know exactly what a teacher can do and cannot do when a child goes wrong.
When any law is ambiguous, or you are working with a particular rule, whether it be administrative directive or whatever it is, and it is ambiguous, you must tread cautiously. Because since it is not clear by the wording of it, and you know that this is the document that will be used to judge you, the public officer, you must tread cautiously. Must tread cautiously that you will not fall foul to the law. And that is why we are commending the minister for what he has done. But all that we are asking for now is that let us all meet. If that particular provision must be reviewed, let's review it.
So you are asking for a meeting with the minister to ensure there's clarity as regards your rules.
Exactly. See, what he's saying must reflect in the code. It must reflect in the code. And when that reflects in the code, it means that the teachers or the head teachers are now empowered by that particular code. And when they are acting within the rules of engagement. And when anything happens and even GES calls upon them, or when they are even sent to court, they can produce that document to show that, look, I was working in the line of my action. Take note, there is also what we call the vicarious liability. In case something happens and the employer goes to check the code, that look, this particular thing that you have done, it is not within the code, and therefore you have gone beyond it. And so the employer can tell you were on the frolic of your own. And that also could come with serious consequences. And because of the kind of experiences we have had in the past, this time we are telling our members, let us all stay away from things that will lead them into troubles or temptations or difficulties. Let us avoid those things. And once again, we thank the minister for his backing, but we believe that we need to sit with him, see how best what the things he is saying could find their way in the document, and then we can implement it, and Ghana will be the best place to be. At least the current example that has happened, how can a student go to school with guns?
In fact, that was my next question to you in terms of interim measures for security in our schools.
My sister, how can a student on Earth? How? What has gone wrong? That you a student, you have now moved from pen and paper, pencil. And I always say that when I was at the elementary school, the things that our teachers, the things that they were dealing with was talkative. When you talk one, they write your name. You talk 2, 3, they put the DP.
Double punishment.
Another thing they will check is your nails. The other thing they will check is when you chew gun. Then you place it somewhere and they say, who chew this particular gun? They write your name. These are late coming to school, hygiene, and those were the things the teachers in our days, these were the things they were dealing with. But today, we are dealing with students who bring gun to school. You are dealing with students who bring machete to school. Are these people called students? Unbelievable.
Let me ask you, yes, so I was just asking you in the interim, what kind of measures do you think we need in our schools? I mean, the fact that a gun could slip through even into the classroom, what kind of measures are you looking at?
The teachers, that is why I am saying that we thank the minister for his backing. The teachers, we can easily handle this. If we have the backing of the ministry, the Ghana Education Service, and the parents, this is not anything. The teachers can easily tame the students. But it is because of the current atmosphere. And the way the current legal regime is like. You don't know how it is like. And you can easily get into trouble. And because of that, we all need to meet. We once again want to thank the minister. We want to sit down with him. Let us see how best what he's saying could find whether their way or whatever. We can review the current code. And then we take it out from there, and Ghana will be a best place for people to come and our students to come and learn. But currently, the behavior of our students is terrible, and nothing to write home about. And the earlier we act is now. Otherwise, we will all be surprised one day.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much, Thomas Musa Tanko, who is General Secretary of NAT. We stay on education, and the Ghana National Council of Private Schools has threatened to take on the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice for failing to act on their petition on the government's 30% quota system. The quota system reserves a portion of senior high school admissions exclusively for students from public basic schools. This policy has been criticized by private operators. The quota policy, according to the private school operators, gives public schools an unfair advantage. Here's Eric Jantua, the Executive Secretary of the association.
It was not constitutionally mandated. We concluded that it borders on human rights. So we have petitions tried since last year, November. We have met the minister himself, and admittedly, he has actually said that such policies must be scrapped out from the system. During the National Education Stakeholder Forum, it was one of the cogent issues that we laid bare. But one thing that is so worrying to us is that we know SHRAD has a mandate to investigate issues that borders on human rights. So if we have petitioned SHRAD, is the onus lies on SHRAD to ensure that fairness or the allegations that we are making is being proved. But we have not been seeing positive signs from SHRAD. So we have written a letter to SHRAD indicating that we don't want to believe that they side with the government to compromise their mandate. And for that matter, if they fail to respond to our letters based on their own regulations, we will take them on together with the Ministry of Education and Ghana Education Service. We are not going to budge from any kind of intimidation or any form of manipulation. We will ensure that by the end of the day, such a medical policy which has come to rid off the progress of private education will be scrapped from the system and ensure that a Ghanaian child is well protected. It is not only even the schools that have been impacted so severely. We are talking about the learners who committed their resources, time to meet the academic credentials that they are supposed to. We have 70% of private schools in Ghana that is constituted as low-cost private schools, whereby foreign partners or foreign aids even see the need to channel their resources as grants to support these schools. Because these schools fill the gap in areas where government has not been able to set up schools or mandatorily put up some schools infrastructures over there. And the community dwell on such schools to have access to education. The kind of treatment the government has melted on the private schools in regard to this 30% is unfair, and it is purely discriminatory, and it's unconstitutional.
And you have Eric Jetua. He is the Executive Secretary of the National Council of Private Schools. Now, the Speaker of Parliament is awaiting an official request from the National Intelligence Bureau to grant them access to the Asin South Member of Parliament, Reverend John Intim Fojo, for questioning on allegations of drug trafficking and money laundering. Now, the lawmaker, together with the leadership of the Minority Caucus, went into a meeting a day after the operatives from the NIB attempted to arrest him at his Spintex residence in Accra. Judge Quaynin has the rest of the story.
Leadership of the Minority Caucus in Parliament met today at the Minority Leader's office at Job 600 in Parliament House to deliberate on the way forward with regard to allegations by Asin South MP Reverend John Intim Fojo on suspicion of drug trafficking and money laundering activities by two suspicious aircraft, which led to a brawl when operatives of the National Intelligence Bureau (NIB) raided his residence at Spintex to cause his arrest to aid in investigations. Currently, the Bureau has resolved to engage the Speaker on how best to engage the lawmaker to assist investigations in the ongoing scandal. Moving forward, an official letter will be sent to the Speaker, who will then acknowledge receipt and schedule an appropriate date to hold such engagement. Just like how letters were written to the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, to engage MP for Goma Central, Kwame Asari-Obin, aka A+, and MP for Yagbakubori, Mustafa Yusuf, it will follow same format and have that meeting in Parliament. In a phone conversation with the lawmaker, Reverend John Intim Fojo, he confirmed his readiness to cooperate with the Bureau and was certain such meeting is likely to take place after the Easter festivities.
Judge Quaynin filed that report earlier for us. He'll be joining us very shortly. But let me tell you that the minority has been questioning this whole process, thinking that saying that state agencies are abusing the immunity of the members of Parliament. So let me bring you details of what the Constitution says about that immunity. Article 117 says immunity from service of process and arrest. It says civil or criminal process coming from any court or place out of Parliament shall not be served on or executed in relation to the Speaker or a member or the clerk to Parliament while he is on his way to, attending at, or returning from any proceedings of Parliament. Now, what this means is that an MP cannot be arrested while going to, attending, or returning from Parliament unless Parliament itself consents. Again, this protection applies only during parliamentary sessions or duties, not outside of them. Now, when you read Article 118 of the 1992 Constitution, it also says that neither the Speaker nor a member of nor the clerk to Parliament shall be compelled while attending Parliament to appear as a witness in any court or place out of Parliament. George Quaining is in the studio now. George, I know that earlier at 12 when we spoke on the midday news, you talked about being at job 600 around the office of the Member of Parliament and the fact that he was meeting some members of the minority, including the leadership of the minority. Just tell us more beyond what you just told us in that report. So
right after the meeting, they didn't talk in person, but it was a phone conversation I had with the one of the center of the controversy, that's the lawmaker of Asin South, Reverend Tim Fojo. So
himself?
Yeah, he told me on phone that. So what they've resolved now with NIB is the fact that they want to follow due process. What that means is that they will write a letter to the Speaker requesting for access to the lawmaker to aid in investigations. But in this time one, all happened in Parliament, just like how letters are written to get access to
A plus and the other MP.
You see Mustafa. So that will be held in Parliament. So the Speaker has to acknowledge receipt of that letter and then give an appropriate date. But the lawmaker made me aware that this might happen after the Easter festivities, that he's confident about that.
What more do we know?
So hopefully we await when the Speaker will get that letter and we know the way forward regarding that very, suspicions of drug trafficking and money laundering allegations.
Thank you so much, George Quaining.
Pleasure is mine.
So, George Quaining there bringing us the latest, but let's hear from Atachia. He's a legal representative for Reverend Intim Fojo in this whole case.
He is of the humble view that he's not committed any crime. All the actions so far from his end, you can find it in Article 115 of the Constitution. There shall be freedom of speech, debate, and proceedings in Parliament, and that freedom shall not be impeached or questioned in any court or place out of Parliament. So if a member of Parliament should have some information, and then by the sheer fact that he wants to, let the public know, so we all pay attention to it, and an inquiry is back upon, and we know where to stand, and recommendation the rest of it. I think the process should travel its full journey. But if you believe that you are not happy with what is put out there, the way to go is not to arrest that member of Parliament. Well, if you went that route, then you want to guard Parliament. Because that's a citadel of debate and deliberations. So members of Parliament who might even, excuse me to say, not be too sure about what they did, or they were careless with their words, but it was associated with their work, will be frightened and intimidated. That is why the freedom of speech and of proceedings in Parliament has been protected under Article 115. Now, let me take it to another level. If you believe that you want to investigate the matter, the NIB, then you have to arrest the one who's coming to aid you to investigate the matter, or ab initio, he is a suspect and arrest. And when you invade the privacy of a man, wouldn't you want to show why you've come to his house?
And I have Atachia, his lawyer for Reverend Intim Fojo. Shortly, the business team will be joining us with the latest in the world of business. Don't go away.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge.